when a lot of backdraft comes up, which is basically just you start creating the pain, you're just opening to the pain that has been repressed. One of the first things we do is help people use mindfulness to ground and stabilize themselves, like feeling their feet on the floor. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, maybe great minds think alike. What did you naturally, spontaneously do when you had a kid maybe who was getting over, you can see they were maybe too much pain or re-experiencing trauma? What did you naturally do? And I know it's individual per kid, but what was your
Well,
approach generally?
it's individual per kid, but it's
Yeah.
a group, so there is
Yeah.
some consistency. A couple of the same kind of things that you're talking about. First, just by talking about it, all of a sudden there's a grounding piece in a way that they're starting to focus outside instead of inside, and giving very specific instruction about eyes open. If you start to feel too much, open your eyes. That
Right.
kind of stuff. You're sort of orienting yourself to the room. And then an acknowledgement, like an immediate acknowledgement about the feeling, and then a question to the group. How many of you have ever felt that way? How many of you have ever felt sad? Everybody's
Yeah.
going to raise their hand. And certainly as facilitator, I always raise my hand. Then
Yeah.
all of a sudden that starts to just kind of ventilate it. It starts to put some space around it,
Yes.
acknowledging. But then a really important school, if you do not have a therapy degree or a therapy background, is to make sure you have a referral plan in place.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, you don't just let the child, you know, you don't let it go without circling back. How you doing? Learning a little bit more about it. And then if you're coming in from the outside, telling the classroom teacher or the school psychologist or whatever, just what happened without making a big deal about it,
Yeah.
just information so that they can get extra support if it's needed. And it's very rare that you do go and you tell a teacher or a school psychologist what happened, in a not excitable way, that they don't say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense for that particular child."
You know what I love about what you said, Susan, is quite naturally, again, and spontaneously, when you taught compassion, it wasn't just the kindness, it was also what I call common humanity in my model.
Yeah.
And very explicitly will, say something like that. Everyone feels this, you aren't the only one, and that you just kind of saw that, give it. So it's a nice little reassurance when people arrive at the same conclusions through different doorways.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
lovely.